Hey, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be. Um, it is Wednesday. I always forget the date. Let's just make it a regular thing where every Wednesday I forget the date. The 8th, Wednesday the 8th. I can't believe September is like flying by. It's ridiculous. So happy September, happy Wednesday. Um, as always, if you would be so kind as to let me know you're here in the comments, that would be awesome. And I didn't use my microphone last week, so now I'm using my microphone, and I just want to make sure that it's that you can hear me. So just say, "I can hear you." That would be really great for me to know that you are here and that I can be heard. Um, the topic for today is communicating and building relationships with your clients and your agents too. I will just add that. But before I get started on that, I just wanted to say that my my dog is with me, so you might hear her. There's a lot of noise going on outside of my little kitchen window, so my dog might be losing a grip now and again. Anyway, oh good. I'm glad you can hear me. Hi Lisa. Hi Jackie. Thank you so much for chiming in. I appreciate that more than I can say. Um, Before I get started on the topic, I last night I went to bed with this like just thinking about all of you. I know that it sounds crazy, but it's true. Thinking about the people that I've worked with and my colleagues and the people that I interact with on Facebook a lot through various groups. I'm in a couple of different Facebook groups, and yesterday I just kind of noticed. Actually, over the last few days, I just kind of noticed. Um, a lot of worry, you know, um, people frustrated with their progress, not knowing if they're making the right decisions. Should they do this or should they do that? And sort of this feeling of being stuck, or immobilized is maybe a better word. And it just, and I feel like at the root of that, is just a sense of kind of personal insecurity, right? And a lack of confidence about who you are and what you have to offer and all of that. And I really just this morning, oh, oh, thank you for that. Hang on. I just got a little note about my little broadcast being interrupted and I forgot something. So, okay, here we go. Okay. Okay, so I just switched to Ethernet. So that should be better. I hope it's better. Um, so, um, what I, again, what I noticed was just a kind of a lack of self confidence, but also a feeling of being immobilized. And I really, I just woke up with this sense of wanting to say to everyone, "You're all right. It's okay. Like, it's okay to take a breath and, get a good night's sleep and um, step back for a minute um, and things are clearer in the morning, right? That everything really is going to be okay." And I see you and I see the struggle of it. And so I just wanted to say that. So I am thinking about you, and I'm thinking about you in your, in with every great thing that you're doing, and with every difficulty that you're having, and every hurdle that you're needing to jump over. So, um, anyway, I just wanted you to know that. So, hi Susan, hi Vince. Thank you so much for joining me. Um, so let us move to the topic at hand. Communicating and building relationships with clients. The first thing I want to say about this is that I am not a marketing expert by any stretch of the imagination. Like, it is, if I have an Achilles heel, that's it. Like, I'm really sort of terrible at marketing and and making new contacts, right? Like doing that on my own. I have the just flat out luxury of having an agent, from whom I get my opportunities. And so once that is established, once that relationship with a client is established, then I can carry it out, right? Then and so that's that's what I'm here to talk about. Like there are people who really do a fabulous job teaching about making that initial contact with clients, initial contact with agents. I think that again, I repeat these names because they're just good at it. So Tracy Lindley has a great course on how to make connections on LinkedIn. Mark Scott, who I don't know personally at all, I am just in his marketing group, and so I'm kind of witness to what he does. And he really seems to have a really solid head on his shoulders and offer really good, practical, no nonsense kinds of kinds of ways to build a a client base, right? So what I'm after here is after here is really sort of the quality of the relationship, right? The real substance of the relationship. So that's what I want to address, and I want to do it just by telling a couple of stories. That's the best way I know how to illustrate it, right? Um, so my friend Carrie is a long time voice actor, and she happens to have a lot of affiliate clients, affiliate promo clients. That's a whole genre of voiceover where it's contracted work. So once you book a job with an affiliate TV station, affiliate is always TV. Once you book a job like that, you are on contract, right? And so you are talking with your client really weekly, sometimes daily. And this is an area of voiceover that I have really tried to break into over the last decade or so. And uh, it's rough for me. I'm not, I'm kind of a soft-spoken voice actor. I'm not a hard-hitting news person in terms of the kinds of stuff that I deliver. And news is news. And nonetheless, over the last several years, news stations have wanted a softer sound, right? And so I occasionally get an affiliate client. And sometimes I lose them pretty quickly because the higher ups at news organizations always kind of come back with, yeah, we like that. Can she be a little more hard hitting? Um, and then they discover it's not really my bailiwick, right? So maybe I'll have a contract for a year. Sometimes I get like bought out of my contract after 3 months. So it's like a sore spot for me, right? Like, how do I hold on to these relationships? How do I, and to me, Carrie is like this magical unicorn person when it comes to keeping her affiliate clients. And she always tells me, Kay, it's the relationship. It's the relationship. Like you have to develop the relationship. And for so long I go, yeah, but how do I do that? Like, what do I do? I don't know. I'm just sending in sound files. Like, how do I build a relationship? You know? And I booked this affiliate earlier in the year, and it's something I really, really want to hold on to. And so and I'm not great at it. It's been a different kind of read for me. And so I've been struggling through it, trying to get better and trying to learn. And, you know, and so it was really interesting. Just a few, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 weeks ago, I was having a conversation with my producer because he wanted to be on the line while I recorded this particular series of spots. And so we spent the first 10 minutes just talking, which was unusual for me. Normally I just like get right to it, right? So we start talking and he kind of has a cough, and I made mention of it, that he sounded sort of stuffed up and stuff. And he said to me, I have COVID. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. How are you? Started the whole thing of, how are you? What was that like? Do you know where you got it? How are you feeling? Are you getting better? Just that whole thing, right? Um, and then somewhere along the line in the conversation, he asked me about he asked me about me, right? He asked me about how things were going for me. And then he said, how's your daughter? And how's school? And I started talking about, well, my daughter's in, I've homeschooled her. So we start talking about my daughter, right? And we start talking about, he asked me why I was homeschooling her. It was all super just friendly and familial, And I told him in the middle of that my daughter has that we discovered late in her schooling, like when she was in ninth grade, that she has dyslexia, like severe dyslexia. And so it was a really big problem throughout her grade school years and stuff. And so in this conversation, he then started asking even deeper questions, right? And then he told me that and he stopped himself and he said, please pardon me if I'm getting too personal. He said, I have a degree in special education. What? So here this producer with this giant, national affiliate network, right? It's a big job, this job, and which is why I'm anxious about it because I really want to keep it, right? So here in the midst of this, I discovered that he has a degree in special education, right? And so we talk even further, right? And it's like 15 minutes in, and then we finally, we sort of start to wrap the conversation up. And I made a comment about, like, since I brought her home and since we found this particular tutor, that she sees that specializes in dyslexia, I said, she's almost, like to where she needs to be. And he again said, she's exactly where she needs to be. And it was like, again, I was just struck. He's like, she's exactly where she needs to be. She doesn't need to fit into anybody else's box or anybody else's scale, of what's good progress or what. And all of a sudden, at that moment I realized that's it. This is the relationship. This is, and I have to say, a lot of it in this instance came from him, right? Came from my producer, right? But it opened up this door to, he allowed me to be a little bit vulnerable, right? About what my life is and what my daughter's life is. And when we talk about our children, that's like the most vulnerable, I think, right? And so I thought about that I still think about it, right? That is the key, right? The willingness to be yourself, to be vulnerable, right? To present yourself as human, right? And what he afforded me there, he's the one who kind of opened the door by saying, I have COVID, right? Which, what a conversation that could stir, right? And it just struck me, right? And when I told my friend Carrie about it, she goes, that's it right there. And by and large, we're communicating with clients via email. And so, it's not like we want to barf our entire lives into an email or anything like that. But you can go from talking about the weather, right, in an email, hope it's sunny over there in Boston, to I hope everything's going well, have a great holiday, are you going to spend it with your family, right? Stuff like that, where all of a sudden you just kind of open up these little doors into the recognition of our mutual humanity, right? And that's key to keeping clients, right? And I do want to stress that it's really important that that all of this be very genuine and that it unfold naturally. Like, I have been working for this particular producer since April, and it is September. So we didn't kick the right out of the gate with conversation about our families and about our health, right? It took time. And so in the beginning, what we're trying to do is establish ourselves as reliable talent, right? That shows up on time, that delivers what the client needs. You do so with a smile, you do so with gratitude, and you do so with a sense of service, right? How it's like whenever I send a sound file, I always end it with, I'm here. if you need me, if you need any revision, I'm here. Now that's particular. You know, well, it's particularly particular to affiliate work because you're on a contract, right? So it's not like, well, you only get 2 pickups, for this rate. It's like, nope, you get me for the month, really. And so I'm here. So you just let me know if there's anything else you need, right? And then the other thing I want to say is, right, that there's like, we want to approach everything with authenticity and being real, being honest about who we are. And then there's also a piece you where you need to be judicious about, what do I want to say? Like, you want to be judicious about certain ways in which you tell the truth. Like, the last few weeks, I've been spending time at the beach. Like, I have missed the beach. And so maybe one day a week, I will just get in my car. It's a half an hour to the beach, and I will spend the whole day at the beach, right? And if I get a call or, a email from an affiliate client, and they go, hey, I got this thing, I need it, blah, blah. Well, and I know how far away I am from my studio. So I'm not going to say to my client, hey, Mona, I'm at the beach. I'm not going to say that, right? What I'm going to say is, I'm out of studio. I will be back in my studio in 90 minutes, and I will be able to get to it then. Is that timeline all right for you? Right? So when I say it's like we want to cultivate this great sense of honesty and openness and all of that, right? You're still working with them. There's still a sense of professionalism, right? You want to let them know that you are available and that you are a professional, right? And so those are just, that's the judicious telling of truth, right? There are some things you can withhold, and you do so to maintain the relationship. So that's kind of an instance there, right? So, like, we have to have our heads on straight, and even if we get close, right? Even if we really develop a friendship, if you will, a working friendship, there are just still moments where we have to remember to be judicious, right, about how we communicate and the specifics of what we communicate. The last thing I want to say to you is that I had the pleasure 2 weeks ago to work with a producer that I worked with in my very first year of voiceover. I did some spots with her for the California Milk and Dairy Board, probably in 1986, maybe 87. But I want to say it was my first year of voiceover. And maybe a decade after that, I did some. She found me, and I did some spots for her for Kaiser Permanente in Northern California. And I got a call from someone I didn't know through my website saying, hey, we would love for you to audition for this thing. You were referred to, we found you through Bonnie Peluso, who's the director and the producer on this, campaign. And she would really like to hear you, and I was like, oh my God, Bonnie Peluso, right? Like, crazy. So I sent, the rate was really too low. I just want to say it was too low, but it was Bonnie Peluso, and I'm not going to say no to Bonnie Peluso. I'm just not. She's a great producer. She's a great writer. Good God, she's still in it after all these years, after 35 years, there's Bonnie, right? So I auditioned, and they came back and said, great, we'd love to book you. And I had them book it through my agent. And I can't tell you what a joy it was to me to be on the line with Bonnie Peluso after 35 years. And it isn't so much that we kept in touch all those years, but the nature of our relationship was such that she wanted to work with me again. And I wanted to work with her because it was such a joy, right? And I think because underneath our sort of levels of professionalism was this connection of real humanness, right? And that we enjoyed each other, right? And so you just never know when a really great relationship is going to come back into your life. And I feel like commercial advertising, that's the hardest thing to maintain, right? Because producers and writers and directors in the commercial world man, is that fleeting. It's like, quick, it's a revolving door, So, so, aside from the professionalism aspect, it's being authentic, being yourself, being of service. Those are all the ways in which we cultivate every relationship in our lives, every single one. And so our clients are no different, right? What was the last thing I wanted to say to you? So in the middle of this session with Bonnie Peluso, she said to me, Kay, I was listening to all the work that we've done over the years. And I was like, really? I said, do you have the California Milk and Dairy Board spots? And she said, I do. I said, oh, you must send them to me, right? So, and she said, I have to send her, my email for her to send that to me, which I'm going to do right after this call with you. And I'm just so thrilled to be able to listen to a spot that I did 35 years ago, right? And that was such a joy. So I say that from like a 35-year perspective, like build your relationships with authenticity, be the professional that you are, be yourself. It's the thing I will preach the most, right? Is for you to do all the things that make it possible for you to be comfortable in your skin, to be yourself, to be who you are with every single client that you run across, right? And so that's at the root of it. So I hope that was somewhat helpful. It applies to agents too, right? Everybody's human. Everybody's human. So if something's up in your life, and I've said this before, right? I have had to send a note to my agents to say, my life's a mess right now. I'm having issues with blah, blah, blah. I won't be turning in auditions this week. And when I'm honest like that, and I say, I'm overwhelmed. So I need a week, or I need 2 weeks, or whatever. And without fail, they write back to me and say, no problem. Thank you so much for letting us know. And we hope everything's okay. Right? Like, they're human. Right? And remember too, if you don't hear back, right? It's because they're human too. And they have lives that they're contending with, difficulties. They're crazed with work. They're maybe crazed with their family life. You just don't know. So just always remember the human factor, right? It's the biggest, most important thing in really cultivating the depth of relationships in your work. So that's it. I've kept you too long. Thank you so much. I hope everyone is doing well. Again, as always, please reach out. I'm here. Okay? Have a great rest of your week. And I'll see you online, and I'll see you live next Wednesday. Mwah! Ciao.